Good evening and welcome to the Daily News Roundup. I am Abigail Smythe. Among the stories in this evening's newscast, a man killed and teacher hospitalized after attack along Bay Farm Road. Woman left hospitalized after spouse slashes her throat. American citizen murdered in Ocho Rios. Correctional officer arrested after being caught smuggling contraband into facility. JCF receives 25 new vehicles and NSWMA receives 50 new trucks. In business, Jamaica surpasses pre-COVID numbers in certain areas of the economy. In the region, over 2,000 people killed in Haiti between January and October. Further overseas, U.S. Senate passes bipartisan legislation to protect same-sex marriages. And in sports, defending champion France wins World Cup group on Wednesday despite losing to Tunisia. Now for the news in detail. A man was killed and a teacher hospitalized after they were attacked by gunmen along Bay Farm Road in Olympic Gardens on Tuesday. The deceased is 34-year-old Sanjay Wilson, a deliveryman of Olympic Avenue. It's reported that about 12:10 p.m., Mr. Wilson and the 36-year-old female teacher, both employed to the ZARS group of schools, arrived at the location in a white Nissan AD wagon to pick up lunches and children when they were pounced upon by two men traveling on a motorcycle. Police reports are that the pillion alighted from the motorcycle and opened gunfire on them before they could exit the motor car. The men then rode away. The injured victims were assisted to hospital, where Wilson was pronounced dead on arrival and the teacher admitted in stable condition. The police say 6 spent shells were found at the scene and no motive has been established for the attack. An ongoing gang feud between the Upsetter Mafia and superstar gangs operating out of Hannahtown in West Kingston is believed to have sparked the killing of 2 men Tuesday morning. They are 28-year-old Lance Thompson, otherwise called Jaja, and Bibi of an Upper Rose Lane address, and 30-year-old Jevon Farquharson, also known as Pimpim, from Upper Oxford Street, both in Hannahtown. Police reports are that about 9:40 a.m. the victims were sitting on the roadway when a car drove up and 3 armed men alighted from the motor vehicle. The assailants opened fire, hitting both men in the upper body before fleeing the scene. The police were alerted and the men were transported to hospital where they were pronounced dead. Thompson and Farquharson, who were friends, were described by residents as jovial. Thompson was a father of 2. Tension has reportedly been brewing in the West Kingston community after a reputed gang leader was released from prison in July. But even with the increased security presence, residents say the threat of death looms large and the latest killing has left them anxious. And with the lifting of the states of emergency at midnight on Tuesday, residents say they are dreading a retaliatory attack. The Kingston West Police Division has reported 68 murders up to November 28, approximately 35% or 37 less than for the corresponding period in 2021. In Downs, near the Manchester-St. Elizabeth border, a man was taken into police custody after he allegedly slashed his spouse's throat during a domestic dispute Tuesday morning, leaving her hospitalized. Residents say that about 7 o'clock, the woman was getting her daughter ready for school when an argument developed with the child's father. He reportedly accused the woman of being unfaithful. The couple reportedly fought in front of the child, and the man allegedly used a knife to inflict wounds to the woman's throat. A resident says the man ran from the house and hid in bushes, and the woman ran out shortly after, holding her throat, trying to scream for help. The resident adds that the child started crying and then several people converged on the scene. The woman was rushed to hospital where she was admitted. The police say the man was subsequently arrested. The Press Association of Jamaica, PSOJ, has condemned the attack on a TVJ cameraman and a Gleaner reporter at Homestead Primary School in Spanish Town, St. Catherine on Tuesday. The media personnel were at the school covering a protest by teachers. The teachers were protesting a stone-throwing incident by a student at the school on Monday. They have also accused the school's principal, Sophia Dare, of bad treatment. The teachers also highlighted a recent incident where a colleague was reportedly slapped in the face by a student, which they say was poorly handled by the principal. The protest action by the teachers impacted operations at the school, causing some parents to withdraw their children from classes. Personnel from the Ministry of Education went to the school to meet with the disgruntled teachers. And while seeking to capture footage, a TVJ cameraman was attacked by a man from the community who punched him. The man also grabbed his camera, ripped the microphone cable, and attempted to damage the equipment. The attacker also tried to seize the mobile phone of the Gleaner correspondent. PSOJ President Milton Walker has expressed outrage at the attack, calling the incident a, quote, reprehensible act and display of thuggery, end quote. He says the association remains resolute that members of the media must be allowed to conduct their duties without any hindrance whatsoever from any quarter. The PSOJ president called for the police to conduct a swift investigation into the incident and take the appropriate actions against the individual involved. Residents of Shaw Park, Ocho Rios, have been left in a state of shock and sadness following the killing of 53-year-old American citizen Philip Bradley Crane on Monday. Crane, from Garland, Texas, was a licensed cannabis cultivator in Jamaica. It is reported that he was at a residence he owned in Shaw Park about 4:30 p.m. when he was held up by two gunmen. The criminals demanded money, and when their demands were not met, they opened fire, killing Crane on the spot. One resident says he heard 5 shots. He described Crane as a cool man he has known over the past 4 to 5 years. The police say relatives of the deceased who were at the house at the time of the incident were not harmed. And police are probing the murder of a man on Kendall Road in Mandeville on Monday night. He has been identified as 34-year-old Jermaine Ford, a resident of Hatfield District in Manchester. Reports are that about 7 p.m., residents heard loud explosions. The police were called to Kendall Road, where Ford was seen lying on the roadway in a pool of blood, suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. He was taken to hospital, where he was pronounced dead. A motive has not yet been established for the incident. A correctional officer attached to the Tower Street Adult Correctional Center was arrested on Tuesday after being caught smuggling contraband into the facility. About 2:15 p.m., the correctional officer was at the prison when fellow officers requested a routine search of his person. He was found in possession of a cell phone and 2 packages with ganja. He was escorted to the Elliston Road police station and handed over to investigators. It is understood that the police took him back to the prison, where they conducted a search of his vehicle. The search reportedly yielded several packages with ganja and tobacco, 2 boxes of rolling paper, a cell phone, SIM card, and 10 lighters. Charges are expected to be laid against the 28-year-old. President of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, Keith Duncan, says the private sector lobby group stands ready to support Prime Minister Andrew Holness if he decides to declare a new round of states of emergency. The current states of emergency have expired and will not be extended, as 8 opposition senators voted against it. Prime Minister Holness has indicated that he would be prepared to redeclare the measures if he is so advised. He says the government is of the view that a re-imposition of the emergency security measure would be lawful even where Parliament has voted against it. However, an attorney at law, Lloyd McFarlane, has questioned the constitutionality of the move. The PSOJ president says the SOE declaration is necessary in the short term to stem the unprecedented levels of crime and violence facing the country, and notes that the PSOJ does not intend to support the frequent use of SOEs indefinitely. The Ministry of National Security handed over 25 new vehicles to the Jamaica Constabulary Force (JCF) on Tuesday. Commissioner of Police Major General Anthony Anderson has expressed his gratitude and says the vehicles are not just for show and will be put to use in the fight against crime. Major General Anderson says that police must take care of the vehicles by driving safely and not putting them at risk of damage. He reiterates that the vehicles will be used in the best interest of Jamaican citizens and says any equipment donated to the force that can be used to help save lives is much appreciated. The National Solid Waste Management Authority (NSWMA) has received 50 trucks to add to its existing fleet. In acknowledging the addition, Chairman Dennis Chung says the fleet will lead to improved garbage collection. He says Jamaicans can expect a cleaner Christmas as the authority rolls out the use of the 50 brand new trucks in the coming weeks. In the meantime, Mr. Chung is calling for an increase in the fines and penalties for littering and poor garbage disposal practices. He believes this will assist in addressing the state of cleanliness across the country. He says enforcement of the fines against littering and poor garbage disposal must be a priority. He has also revealed that illegal vending in major town centers also poses a significant challenge for the Solid Waste Authority. Mr. Chung says this practice also poses a health risk to the society. He argues that legislation to address the issue must begin to receive focused attention. Meanwhile, he is urging Jamaicans to adopt better garbage disposal practices, as no amount of garbage trucks will fix the problem. And in business news, Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says Jamaica has closed in and even surpassed pre-COVID numbers in certain areas of the economy. He says Jamaica is just shy of its pre-pandemic levels of economic output. Dr. Clark states that the country's unemployment and debt ratio numbers are lower than those recorded before the pandemic. He also adds that the government is pushing to have amendments to the Large-Scale Projects and Pioneer Industries Act of 2013 approved before the end of the financial year to support this new agenda as the country looks to secure investments of $1 billion or more. And in the region, human rights groups say several thousand people have been gunned down in Haiti this year due to violence caused by heavily armed gangs controlling the capital's poor and densely populated slum areas in defiance of the country's authorities and weak police force. A prominent Haitian rights group, Defenders Plus, says at least 2,769 people had been killed in the country from January 1 to October 31. Several rights groups have called attention to an exponential increase in violence in Haiti and complained that people have become immune to the sight of dead bodies in their communities. And on the international scene, the U.S. Senate passed bipartisan legislation on Tuesday to protect same-sex marriages. This is an extraordinary sign of shifting national politics on the issue and a measure of relief for the hundreds of thousands of same-sex couples who have married since the Supreme Court's 2015 decision that legalized gay marriage nationwide. The bill, which would ensure that same-sex and interracial marriages are enshrined in federal law, was approved 61-36 on Tuesday, including support from 12 Republicans. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the legislation was, quote, a long time coming, end quote, and is part of America's march towards greater equality. Democrats are moving quickly while the party still holds the majority in both chambers of Congress. The legislation now moves to the House for a final vote. President Joe Biden praised the bipartisan vote and says he will sign the bill promptly and proudly if it is passed by the House. And in sports news, the defending champion France won its World Cup group on Wednesday despite losing to Tunisia 1-0. Australia beat Denmark 1-0 in another Group D game and finished second on goal difference. In Tuesday's fixtures, 1966 champions England defeated Wales 3-0, while USA edged Iran 1-0 in their Group B games. And that's it for your news roundup for today. I am Abigail Smythe. See you next time.